Greetings, Wildcat fans. I'm Bob.
I'm Larry. This is Catnips. It is the conclusion of Week 12 of the college football season, and last Saturday, the Northwestern Wildcats fell to the University of Michigan 10-9 at Ryan Field. Now, much of the post-game discussion and controversy centered around the decision to go for two at the end of the game by Pat Fitzgerald, but several other plays in this game really were the deciding factor, not necessarily that two-point conversion.
Yeah, Larry, I wasn't really hanging Fitz for this one. In fact, I was happy to see Fitz make that move. I think a lot of people in the stands were happy to see Fitz make that move, for no other reason that the game would be over and not go into overtime. Far more significant to that loss were the 38-yard missed field goal and the muffed punt by Tony Jones, which really set Michigan up with a gift-wrap touchdown. And those were much more significant than the two-point play.
Yeah, people talk about Trevor Siemian and that last play, but actually, Trevor Siemian didn't have that bad a game. He had a good game through the air, but for the most part, he was running for his life as usual, and just a subpar performance by the offensive line and a truly spectacle of a bad performance by the special teams was the decider in this game. Unlike the loss to Iowa, which was just a complete team failure, this one had some bright spots. Again, Siemian, it wasn't his most spectacular performance, but it wasn't the thing that lost us the game. And likewise, the defense was serviceable. The defense had a halfway decent game. Of course, they were helped by a truly inept Michigan offense.
And Siemian's passing performance certainly was superior to the -9 yards that the Cats were able to rush in the game.
Yeah, again, speaking quite a bit more about the offensive line and about the holes that were open in the blocking than it does for the running backs.
And frankly, Larry, I'm astonished that Northwestern thinks that it can compete in the Big Ten, fielding such special teams ineptitude, complete absence of coherence on the offensive line, and how, in a system that chews up quarterbacks, you can only have one serviceable quarterback for the Big Ten season. A mystery to me. Maybe that's part of what makes us so special.
Can't understand just what does he say. No comprende, it's a riddle.
That's right, it's time for a new feature on Catnips. It's Quote of the Game. So what was the quote of the game from the stands during the Michigan game?
Well, Larry, in front of us was a Michigan fan who stood up in the middle of a drive. I think he was probably trying to relieve himself. And one of his Michigan fan friends stood up and shouted, "Where do you think you're going? Get back here, sit down, and watch this like a man."
Hooray for new math, new math. It won't do you a bit of good to review math. It's so simple, so very simple, that only a child can do it.
Okay, Larry, it's time for bowl math, and, well, what's your projection?
So the projection is Northwestern has a 5% chance of making it to the postseason, 2% chance of running the table and winning all three of its next games. If it wins two more games, there's a 3% chance that it could still make a bowl at 5-7.
Never tell me the odds.
So what has to happen? What has to happen for Northwestern at 5-7 to actually make it to a bowl? Here's the list. Northwestern has to win two more games. They have to have one of the top 5 academic progress rates or APR scores in the nation. NU is currently number 2, so we're checkmarked there. There can be no eligible 6-6 teams in the country with 2 or fewer of their wins coming from an FCS school. There can be no 6-7 teams with the 7th loss coming from a conference title. There can be no 6-7 teams which played a regular 13-game season, such as Hawaii's home opponents. There can be no FCS team in the final year of their 2-year FBS transition process if they have at least a 6-6 record. There must be 3 planets in conjunction with Virgo. 2 red heifers must be born in the Near East within a 6-month period, and frogs must fall from the sky Fargo style.
And I am the Easter Bunny.
5%.
So next up, Larry, we've got the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. The Cats have had 1 win against Notre Dame in the past 52 years. Admittedly, we haven't played in the last 19. And, for some of us, we might be thinking this could be the last time in our lifetimes that we see the Cats play in South Bend. The series record is 37-8-2. That's in favor of Notre Dame, in case you were wondering. And Friday is the 125th anniversary of our first game with the Fighting Irish.
And that's a legendary game that actually was played in Deering Meadow. At the time it was called Campus Meadow at Northwestern in 1889. Northwestern lost that game 9-0 to Notre Dame, but the game is famous because there are rumors that the Irish got their nickname from that game and from Northwestern fans chanting at halftime, "Kill those Fighting Irish." And Northwestern almost did. Northwestern nearly did kill those Fighting Irish. Their captain actually had his jaw fractured. He lost an entire row of teeth. One of their players actually came up missing part of his face. It was a brutal, brutal game. I don't think we're expecting anything nearly quite that brutal this Saturday.
No, I think the only brutality Saturday is going to be the cold.
Yeah. So, Bob, is it time for potables?
Yeah, Larry, I think it's time for potables. What do we got this time?
This week we have what else?
Blue Nun.
Blue Nun, a pleasure shared.
All right, so Larry, there is nothing you can name that is anything like a dame.
There is nothing like a dame, nothing in the world.
Thoughts?
Holy Fatima, Larry. I can see her. I can see the Blue Nun. She's trying to speak to me. I can't hear you, sister. I can't hear you, sister. I'm sorry. I was born a heathen baby. Wait. She says she's going to show me something. She's trying to show me something. She's taking me to a field. It's a field of grass, but it's not grass. And Larry, she's hiking her habit. I dare say there is a whiff of scandal about this Blue Nun. Nice legs, too. That habit is up above her knee, and now she's getting down on all fours.
Show your good taste with a good taste of Blue Nun. Show your good taste with a good taste of Blue Nun.
What's this? Oh, she's searching for something, Larry. She's searching. She's searching through that fake grass. She's found something, Larry. She's found something. She's picked it up. She's coming to show me. She's opening her hand. Oh, my God. It's a penny. It's the lucky penny. It's Gary Barnett's lucky penny. We're doomed. We can't beat Notre Dame without the lucky penny. Irish 42, Northwestern 7.
It's tremendously terrible vision, Bob. The Blue Nun,
I don't want to see her again.
It's disappointing. And let me tell you, this is something that was best served in the 1970s. Its prime was a generation ago. Unfortunately, it's still potent enough to beat our poor cats. I think it's going to be Notre Dame 24, Northwestern 7. As usual, let's hope I'm wrong.
Well, what can I say? The omens are not looking good here, are they?
Indeed.
Well, that's it for this edition of Catnips. Stay warm, and as always, go Cats.
There's a fine white wine that goes great ice cold. It's crisp, light, delightfully dry, with a European charm that tastes superb with any dish. Blue Nun, the delicious imported premium white wine.